You're listening to PDR Tool Talk, all about PDR stories, tools, and techniques.
For the thousands in attendance, ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble!
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name is Mike Toledo, along with John Hiley, Vince D'Alessandro, and Daniel Grom. We got a lot to talk about in this show. We're going to talk about some big dents, how we do them. We're also going to talk about the new app from MTRX, the new update that they came out with. What's that called? Price-A-Dent? Is that what it is?
Price-A-Dent.
Yeah, Price-A-Dent. So we're going to talk about that. And before we get into that, we're going to talk about, I think there's a lot of news going on in the social media stuff. So I know Vince has been keeping up on that. There's been a lot of stuff going on. So let's get right into it. So anyways, before we get into any of that, Daniel, you had some pretty good action going on this week. What's cracking over there, man, in Santa Rosa?
Man, I got to tell you guys, I feel grateful for sure. Yes, I live in Santa Rosa. If I haven't been watching the news, we've had just devastating fires out here, and got pretty scary. It got really too close to home for my liking. And driving around the city today, and it's like a ghost town. Everything's closed.
Yeah,
it's like an apocalypse, and everybody's walking around kind of in that zombie state. People don't know what to do, and it's really kind of eerie and kind of weird. Today, I went over to one of the first scenes you saw on the news was this gun store. It was my actual local gun store that I go to, and so I went over there with my drone. Felt like I was Mike Toledo on scene, and I flew my drone over the gun store, and you see all these gun safes sitting there, and I tell you guys, if you got a gun safe, you better make sure it's fireproof. It really, really is fireproof. And
did the store burn down and only the gun safes were left? Is that what you're getting?
Yeah, but one other thing was left.
Chimney?
A big, huge grizzly bear. It's the weirdest thing. I'll post the pictures for you guys. But this big, huge grizzly bear is still standing there. And he still looks like he's got all of his fur. He's just, looks like he's singed a little bit, but he's still standing there. It's a trip.
Well, you really dodged a bullet, because not only your house did not burn down, but neither did your business, right?
Yeah. The fire literally was 3 blocks away from where my business is. And honestly, if you guys see it, you're like, there's no way the fire could come through there. It's really odd. And you see buildings, there's like the McDonald's and Arby's burnt down, and then right next to it is another place, and it's still standing. Why those burnt down and the other ones didn't doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It was weird. Well, what was happening was the winds were blowing at 45 miles an hour, and then they were getting wind gusts up to 80 miles an hour. So it was just blowing embers everywhere. When you go out to my parking lot and you look in the parking lot, and you see these big pieces of ash and chunks of burnt something. And so that stuff was just floating all over the place.
I'm just glad that your bench grinder survived, because that would have been the biggest tragedy.
No, I got that out. I came down here and I got that out. That's the first thing I grabbed.
So
what are you thinking?
How much money do you have insured in tools?
You know what? It's a great question. And this is something that, do I have everything insured properly? I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah. I was really underinsured in tools last time I talked to my insurance adjuster, and I think we took it up to 50,000 is what I figured with 50 grand I could, get everything that I needed and more,
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's a great question. Here's the other thing is, guys, I've watched these prepping shows, and I've been prepping for years. I've come home with like, I got a generator, honey. She's like, what do we need? We don't need that. And I go, yeah. She's thanking me now for all the stuff I prepped for. But you don't prep for having to get out with everything in a hurry. Yeah. And there's a great website, My Life in a Box, and it was done by this lady that tells you what you can grab in 10 minutes, that everything that you need, like your ID, your passports, things that if you need to, if you lose everything, you have a way to identify yourself and get back rolling again.
Well, this might be ancient, but I still carry a safety deposit box at my bank, and that's where all my titles are, birth certificates, and all that stuff. Because how often do you need a birth certificate or a marriage license and stuff like that? I don't even keep it in the house for that reason, in case it does burn down. I have a 2-hour safe just in case for guns and things I need readily available, but everything else sticks in that safety deposit box, and it's a good way to hide some cash.
Now, are those fireproof as well on those banks?
Oh yeah, they're in the vault. They're in the bank vault.
Hey, Mike, this is something else I learned. Is a friend of mine had a fireproof safe, but his money still burnt up.
Yeah,
because it's so hot.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I went into his safe. So my Quinn's mom, she lost her house. He had his dad's Harley Davidson parked in the garage. That's gone. And then Shauna, who works for us on Fridays, she lost everything. She lost her house
and we had Quinn on our show recently, the detailed guy. So you guys all met Quinn, if you guys don't recall.
Yeah. And then one of our best clients, he was in Washington, D.C. His girlfriend got out within like 5 minutes. She only had literally 5 minutes to get out. But he had his $1.2 million Ferrari in the garage. Gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can relate to that. A few years ago, we had a big fire right here coming over the hill. We had to get out real quick. Almost got us.
I remember that.
And then in 2000, I think 6 or 7, there was a huge fire again, like whole San Diego, like Santa Rosa. There was like all burning up. So that was a big thing. So I can relate. It's scary because they can go fast. You don't know which way they're going, and it's all about the wind and the embers. So,
that's the cost you pay to live in paradise here in California.
Yeah.
I get.
But you know what? It can happen anywhere.
I get to stay where it's nice and safe here in Ohio.
Yeah.
You have tornadoes.
Oh, it's a very random week. I have never in my life here seen a tornado. Right. I mean, not in this part of Ohio. We got one city that's notorious for it. But other than that, I haven't seen one. And then we don't get bit by sharks. There's no jellyfish.
Well, I seen that movie Children of the Corn, dude, and it was filmed. I heard, dude, and you ain't getting me to live out there.
Yeah, you got scary guys to play banjo out there, man.
You got some weird stuff going on, man. Yeah. You got some weird stuff going on in some of them little back road towns. That's for sure.
You got Amish too. They're kind of creepy in themselves.
Hey.
Oh, dude, I run.
That's racist,
now
dude.
We're gonna get the call.
Now I have to edit this out, dude. Okay?
No, not Amish. They don't even listen. They don't have electric.
I gotta edit it out, man. You guys always make me do more work than I have to. Okay?
I wouldn't do it.
Had to cap on those guys, didn't you? Hey, they make some nice furniture, man.
Damn,
they don't tune in. We know they don't tune in. That's why I kept.
They'll find it. Trust me.
So shifting gears there, Vince, what's going on in the Facebook realm?
Well, Facebook realm, we have SEMA coming up in a couple of weeks. There's a lot of chatter about people going to SEMA and checking that out. I myself am contemplating it.
I am too.
Still open registration for your businesses for another couple 2-3 days before you have to pick them up at the show. I'm really thinking about going.
Let me hit you up after the show. We'll talk about that. So
yeah. There's a lot of drama with tools going on and copies and copycats and whatnot. As a group, I think we choose not to get too involved with that stuff. We try to pretend we're Switzerland and not get involved, right?
But the good thing is we give those people a platform to put out their case, make their argument, and talk about it. And, our position is that, hey, somebody sends us tools, we're going to take a look at them. We're going to give our opinion and we're not going to get in the middle of things.
That's what we're going to do. We that's what we do. So, if you're in the business of tool manufacturing, I talked to you, John, earlier this afternoon. Be prepared to get, get copied. I mean, I'm not saying it's correct. I'm not saying that, but you got to have a little bit of thick skin. You're in the tool manufacturing business. And if you create something that's somewhat successful, there are going to be people out there that do intentionally copy the way you make that tool. And there might be people, unintentionally using the tool how you design your tool. But you know what I mean? But you can't be butthurt. You can't be in this business and get super butthurt easy.
And interesting enough, Mike, like it wouldn't matter what we put in as our opinion anyway, because ultimately they're not breaking the law. You know what I mean? By doing this is a code of honor. So if an individual or as a whole, the technicians want to follow a code of honor, then they can. Or if they don't, then they don't have to. I mean, we're in America. I mean, it's capitalism. It's a free market. And people can choose to do what they want to do. Me personally, I would not want a customer who would pick a duplicate tool over a tool that I produce, because I would want them to respect that I brought it into the market. So in that case, I don't care. You know what I mean? So if somebody wants to, pick the copycat version, buy the cheapest version possible or whatever, that's their choice. That's up to them. I will personally always pay respect to the individual who created the tool, as long as they're not doing something just insanely ridiculous price-wise. You know what I mean? And just pay that respect to them and treat them with the respect that they deserve. That's just the kind of person I am.
I like to see guys support the innovators, the people that are the ones out there coming up with new stuff, because if they don't get supported, then you ain't going to get anything new, Yeah.
Exactly.
Hey, what's going on with Dent Gear? Any latest news about what's going on? Are they still in business, or one of my techs said that they actually contacted him and said that they would be sending him his tool. Of course, that was 3 weeks ago, and I'm not sure if I haven't followed up on him, but I'm not sure if he got it. So, you hear anything, Vince?
From what I hear, they have shipped some orders. I heard people have received their moose knuckles. Some of the online auctions, people won moose knuckles with the online auctions. They've received theirs. I did get hit up today by a technician in Colombia wondering where his Dent Gear tools were, because he had ordered a doodah and a Magnatech mat and got those, and didn't know what was happening with Dent Gear. And I gave him some advice, which I'm going to give everyone here right now, that the word on the street is Sal works for Dent USA warehouse in Colorado, which is in Colorado Springs. I told him to call up Dent USA warehouse in Colorado Springs and ask for Sal, because Sal's not returning his own personal calls.
Yeah, so Sal's getting ready to get a bunch of phone calls. But in that regard, again, what I recommend all you guys out there, never let your tool orders get past the window of dispute. If you don't get a product delivered to you that you purchased with a credit card, you can dispute that. And I want to say there's probably 90 days or something like that you get a window where you can actually just call the bank and say, hey, I ordered this stuff and they're not sending it to me. Dispute it and get your money back, because business shouldn't be done that way. I don't care who it is. I don't care whose company it is. I don't care if it's me. If I'm not fulfilling my order to you in 90 freaking days, dispute it. Get your money back.
Exactly.
Are you trying to tell them something, John?
Well, I'm not going to do that to you. So. I'm not going to worry about that, because I'm not going to do that to you.
Yeah. Well, we all know Sal personally, and we all like Sal personally, but what he's done, everyone has a different moral compass. And I think
at least just put something out there. Put a statement out there saying what's going on.
Yeah.
Are you in business? You out of business? We understand. If you're out of business, you're out of business. No big deal.
Yeah.
And if somebody gets in over their head, man, I mean, sometimes that could happen to anybody. You get in over your head, and then boom, you just gotta. Sometimes you just gotta take that hard knock and move forward.
Refund, whatever, make it good, and move on.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right. Shifting gears. Let's get in the meat of this thing.
Yeah. Well, you know what? We have a big apology for everyone out there before we get into our topic. We missed a podcast last week, and it wasn't intentional. We did everything within our power, within the four of us, to produce a podcast last week, and it didn't happen. We don't want to go into great detail.
Well, Daniel's town was on fire, number one.
Exactly.
Mike's in Las Vegas at a bachelor party from his best friend
On a private jet.
and on a private jet.
And John was hungover.
Oh, whatever. Yeah.
No,
No, not this weekend. I wasn't. But yeah, but you know what I mean? And then
you were hungover for like a week and a half, right?
no, it was like 2 days. I already told the whole story on my other podcast. So yeah, we broke it down.
Okay.
Yeah, so we do apologize. We didn't make that, but we're making it up to you on this one. This is a really, really good one. And we got a lot of juice and meat to talk about. And let's get cracking. So we go in Big Dents first. Or why don't we go Big Dents after? You want to go to Big Dents first? Okay. All right. Yeah, actually, why don't we do that, and then we'll get into the Mobile Tech RX and how to price that stuff.
So here's my question for all you guys. So let's say you have a big smash, and I'm talking bigger than
Stuff that should go to a body shop.
Yeah, but you look at it and you go, hey, most of this is going to pop, and then you work out what's left. So you look at the dent, and how are you going to move most of that metal quickly? I want to hear you guys tell me what you guys do, and then get to where you can see really where the meat is, or the areas you're going to PDR.
Okay, before we do that, I want everybody to have like a 2-minute time limit. No, don't go too deep into stuff here. Okay. Daniel, John. So
yep, got it.
Ding.
All right, I can start off if you guys like me to.
Sure, go.
So what I look at is not exactly how I'm going to move the metal or what I'm going to use. I look at what the metal is going to respond to the best. So I look at it as, will a concentrated glue pool in an area swell the whole dent into a specific spot? Will starting it with cola fria swell it into the impact point? And then at that point, do I go in with a concentrated pool with glue pooling? Or do I go to the back side of the panel and push it because glue pooling might potentially make it oil can? You know, so there is many things. And also what you guys got to remember out there, that large dents, you adapt to them. Okay. So you start off with a game plan, and basically you have to adapt to the way that the metal rolls and the metal flows. Now, am I going to certain dents? I may want to put a basketball on the backside of it and pump it up and allow it to release and unlock. And as it swells, if I'm getting reverse crown pressure, I might want to hit the crown while I have the pressure on the backside of the panel, okay, causing a dollying effect, okay? And I'm always thinking, whenever I'm doing this large dent removal, is I always go back to that crown versus dent percentage. Is it a crown dominant dent or a dent dominant dent? Because if it's a dent dominant, I'm going to go ahead and start working the dent first so the crown has a place to go. I think that's the biggest mistake that people make. They start working the dent in the wrong procedure, the wrong way. And you got a big old giant dent with a hard crown at the top. You start hitting that crown right then, you're going to do nothing but leave holes because it wants to go down into the bottom of the dent. You have to swell the dent first, giving the crown direction on where to go, and control that as you're working it through the process, okay? You'll actually begin to see the crown melt out of the panel while it's chasing where it's supposed to go. Now, on the other side of that, if it's a crown dominant dent, then you might want to work the crown first, because you'll see the dent releasing as the crown comes down, okay? And what I want all you guys to remember out there, whether it's a crown or a dent, either or, they're both dents if you flip the panel on the other side, okay? So learn how to remove the crown and allow it to flow like you actually make the metal of the dent flow. And always think about techniques and ways to move it in the exact way that it went in.
Right.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. I think you worded it really good, John. I like how you said, is it a crown dominant dent or a dent dominant dent? So there's always different scenarios on how to fix those.
Yeah, that's one thing that is the best thing that anybody that's listening to this show, if you're a newbie, listen to what John's saying, man. That is just brilliant advice.
Perfect. So you put a lot in there, John. You said a lot of things. I completely agree with you. Daniel, you want to go or me? Which one?
But real quick, can I say something real quick?
Yeah.
And I'm not opposed to using a porter power or a sledgehammer to dialing in stuff that's crunched, like buckled in quarter panels that have a lot of under bumper depth. I'm not opposed to getting out, porter powers and sledgehammers, taping them up with tape and using that as well. So
yeah, we're going to get into a little bit more details. We're just opening it up like,
okay.
How do you
go ahead? You go ahead, Mike. Tell us what you do.
Yeah. I analyze it just like John does. I'll look at it. I'll tell you what most commonly I use is I go to cold glue. If I can get that sucker to move, the reason why I like cold glue or Cola Fria is because it shocks the metal out enough and doesn't overshock it. I love Kiko Super Tabs, but they're almost too strong. And if you're a rookie or you don't know what you're really doing and you grab those Kiko Super Tabs, you might actually make it worse. You could really overstretch the metal and bring more metal into the center than you're really anticipating. So I like that, and actually like using Super Tabs. If I'm going to use Super Tabs, I don't use it with a slide hammer. I actually use it with the bridge that they have. So I really like that because I like to control what I'm doing. Okay. And sometimes I can actually hold the metal, tap it, and bring it out. You're seeing a lot more of those techniques being shown, and you see it on the guys on Instagram. I've seen it. A lot of them are using that, but those are generally what I go to. Those are my things I go to when I move big metal, because I like to bring from the outside, bring it towards the center. I try to bring as much metal back in there so I don't have any problems with the center being overstretched. And that's just a little brief way of how I start big dents.
How about you, Vince?
Me, I'm all about consistency in the dent. I like to, whenever I attack a dent, whether it's small or big or monstrous or extreme, I always try to keep the flow consistent through it. I try to get to a level where everything is smooth, wavy, and getting it up as efficiently as possible. So the main things that I use, like you guys, if I could get Cola Free on it, I get Cola Free on it immediately. And what that does, like you said, is shock the metal. But I also use Cola Fria almost exclusively now with Kiko tabs, the super tabs. I have like 3 or 4 different size tabs, and it's the golf ball size or golf ball textured ones. And they all have Cola Fria on it already. It's quick, it's easy, it's simple. There's no cleanup or anything. There's no prepping the panel for glue or anything like that. You just put it on there, and I use a slide hammer most of the time. But my idea when I'm attacking it is to always keep it a consistent flow throughout the thing. So I'm not opposed to using porter powers either. It's much easier when you have a shop. You have those things readily available, so it's not too much of a burden to go and grab it real quick. And I use, if there's open access behind there, I'm using hammers. Bedsides. I get out a big hammer. I have a bigger version of the Craftsman hammer that has interchangeable heads on it. There's a red, a brown, a metal tip, and a yellow. I exclusively use a red and a brown because the brown is super soft and you won't make any high spots out of it. The red is a little bit more firm. It seems lately the big smashes that I get are always on front fenders. I fix so many front fenders. It's unbelievable. People pulling into garages or whatever, they're hitting front fenders and they collapse. There's no support behind them, so the whole corner collapses, or somewhere within the fender it collapses. My other go-to is John's ball on the doodah. I mean, I could power up a body line dent so damn quick, and using John's tactical ball, his rubber ball, it's when their body line hits, you're actually pushing as hard as you can on the body line, and the crown is coming. You could watch the crown disintegrate right back and move right back into the body line.
I think I agree with what you guys saying. And let's break this down. Okay, this is the first segment, and I mean you're right after me, Daniel. So I mean you're right after Vince, but I just want to go in the direction of how this conversation is going to go. So we're talking about getting the meat out. Okay, we're talking about getting it down to a manageable dent. Then there's the medium area where you're trying to get the medium down to the finishing part. So we'll go into 3 segments here. So now you're still in the getting the meat out, Daniel. So what's your technique to getting most of the meat out down to the medium part?
John had something to say real quick.
Sorry.
Just wanted to tell you, like, in Vince's technique he was talking about with the rubber ball, when he said the crown disintegrated and melted out, that right there is proof of what I'm saying right there, because it was a dent dominant dent. It was actually holding the crown in there. Now, if you guys tried to tackle that crown first, you would have done nothing but beat holes in it, because there was nowhere for it to go except for in a unnatural flow state.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I just wanted to point that out.
I agree with all of you guys, but what I use, I think I use something much different than you three. And the 2 tools I use is the hustle stick, and I use a air powered suction cup slide hammer, and it's for dent dominant type of dents. And the hustle stick, which I used to call the pogo stick, but the official name is the hustle stick. Body shop guys will call it the pogo stick. It's basically a big piece of pipe, and it's got like a hook on it and a chain, but the other end's got another hook on it. And I use the big Kiko tabs. And what I like about that is you leverage it against like the rear tire. Like the other day I was working on a Chevy truck, so I was leveraging off that, put a big Kiko tab on the dent, and I pull it really slowly, but you can swivel the angle, and you can shift the way that dent's being pulled to the left or to the right or down or up. And so you have a lot of control, and then you can throw it behind your shoulder and just kind of lean against it. And you can hammer a little bit on some highs, some eyebrows of the dent if you need to. But you just have so much control, and you can do it really, really slowly rather than taking like a slide hammer and shocking it. That has great purpose, and there's a time for that. But I don't think guys are exploring this technique enough.
You know what it is, Daniel, though? It's kind of like, it's kind of like Stanliner and his tools. You explain it, but we got to see it. I don't quite understand. I'm listening to what you're saying, but I need to visually see what you're saying. So, I mean, when you are doing a dent like that, can you please video it? Even if it's just a 10-minute clip. And
I've shown some shots and stuff, but here's the thing: is some Colafria. Like if I'm working on like this dent that I was working on, Colafria was not going to move this dent.
Yeah, it's too,
that I was
too
working
locked
on, but now. Sometimes I use that big old suction cup with the slide hammer on it that you hook up to air, and I can't tell you how many times I use that.
That thing's cool. I haven't got one.
And absolutely love that thing. Absolutely love it. And it comes with 3 suction cups. I usually use the middle one. The big one's a little bit too big. The small one's useless. It doesn't really work. The middle one works really well. And
where did you get that at?
Auto Body Tool Mart. For both those items, we'll post it.
Well, I use the Dent Dominator, dude, like for those big creases on the hoods. That I'm just kidding.
I bought one of those, man. I bought one of those.
You imagine this could be a real quiet repair, sir. Let me
that thing's like the size of a weed whacker, isn't it?
Oh, it's like a cutoff wheel,
it's a cutoff wheel with a lopsided ball on it.
Did you really buy one? I think you're the only one in America that bought one, dude.
Daniel?
I bought a small one to see what it would do. I wanted to, I like to play stuff. I don't listen to other people. I want to play with it.
Could you ever
and
get
then
it to
see
work,
if I
Daniel?
can modify? It works, but you won't have any friends. You won't have any customers waiting around in your lobby. Man.
I have to say though, Daniel, if it wasn't for you that bought Colafria 2 years ago, we probably wouldn't be it'd probably be a hidden secret somewhere. You know what I mean? Except for the Brazilians, they knew about it.
Well, Daniel keeps an open mind. That's something I definitely admire about him, because he's always like, well, he's always on the other side. We're like, all of us to get together, and we're like, God, that sucks, da da da. And he's like, well, what about this? Or have you used it this way? You know what I mean?
Daniel has a thought process. He's already seen it working in his mind. Okay. And
Yeah.
I'm going to get it to work.
Yeah.
Yep.
Somehow. Yeah. But so those are the two tools I love and really rely on.
Now, Daniel, the Vacu-Dent, I've seen that. I've actually seen that in body shops. I can't see how it works for PDR because it's like what, a 6-inch suction cup on the end.
Yeah.
So basically, you're kind of pigeonholed into smooth dents in a way because you're not going to get that thing to suck on something that has a crease in it, right?
You'd be surprised. It grabs onto a lot of contours and stuff that you wouldn't think it would, but mostly front. I use it a lot on front fenders where it's just going to pop, and you literally pull it into the shop. And you make sure no customer's watching you because you don't want them knowing you're using a suction cup. But the damn thing works. I'm telling you, it works.
See, I would be afraid of it actually causing a kink in the bottom of the fender if you use it on a fender. If it's that
again, you have to use your good judgment. It's just like using Cola Fria. You have to know when to use it and when not to. There's definitely times not to use it, but there's times that it will take out a football sized dent in one blow, and it's great.
And clearly you're not using it in the mobile environment. It's a shop only type of tool.
Yeah, you have to have a compressor. I do heat up the panel. I don't ever do it cold. I don't do anything like any big stuff cold anyway.
You
like to
crack the paint, right? Shocking it.
Yeah, I've never done that.
I have.
Yeah, if it's really cold and it's old paint, sure.
Yeah. Okay, so we're down to the medium. Like, let's say you got it down to a hand-sized dent. What tips are you using? What tool are you using now? I mean, what are you going to? Personally, I mean, I'm not going to beat around the bush. I mean, I try to get the biggest tool tip on that area because I want to start from the outside corners and again, bring it in, get that metal moving in there. So I have really clean pushes at the end. I don't want to have all these poke marks and these push marks. And if you're wondering why you get these push marks, it's because you're using too small of a tip too soon. You're trying to push a big area of metal and you're getting these little high spots. The contact of your tip is too small to move too much, enough more metal. You need more contact into the panel. Yep. So, think about how you're going to match it up. You don't have to match the exact tip to the same dent, but at least start some of the portions out from the outside and get some metal movement, but smoothly without causing all the little push marks you're making. That's like 5-10 minutes each that you have to correct at the end. That's a lot of finishing at the end. So I'm not going to go in great detail, but think about the tips. And I'll let you guys.
What tip do you use specifically?
I'll use like John Hiley, the rubber balls. Man, I love that stuff, man. I'll get like one of Sal's leather tips, you know what I mean? And I'll put a leather over it, you know what I mean? So what do you do? What are you smiling for, man? Did I say something dirty?
No, keep on going.
Vince is being funny.
Oh, okay. I thought I said something pornography again, dude. So anyways, anything that I can get my hands on, like that will cover the surface area of the panel.
How about you, John?
So I'm going to talk about this in two terms. All right. So I already talked about earlier how the dent from the outside is and a crown or your outward metal that you need to work down from the inside is just a dent on the other side of the panel. All right. So what I want you guys to envision this is the tips that I would use on either of them are one step down from the size of the damage that I'm trying to move. Mm-hmm. Okay. So I'm always wanting to be one step down from that size. It doesn't matter if I'm doing my knockdown work or it doesn't matter if I'm doing my pushing work. So again, if I got, like Mike said, a baseball sized dent left, I'm going to go in there with that black rubber ball. Or if it's glue pullable, I may glue pull it from the outside of the panel. All right. And I'm going to move as much metal as possible, as clean as possible. But look, we always get these little lines or these tiny creases that we got to cross check. At some point, I might be looking at this thing like the size of the damage now is the size of a soft tip. Okay. And I'm going to give you guys a tip on how you know if it's dragging too much perimeter metal, whether you're pushing from the inside or doing knockdown on the outside. So if it's taking too much perimeter metal with it, then you're one size too big. Okay. And as Mike already covered, if you're pocking it up really badly, you're obviously 1 to 2 to 3 to 5 to 10 sizes too small. Okay. And that's ultimately why I use different tips on the inside of the panel, but I also have a series of knockdowns for the outside of the panel. Anybody who would use a sharp peak knockdown to hit a crown that's the width of a soft tip is just wasting their time. You know what I mean? You need to be matching the tip to whatever metal is one size. The tip's got to be one size smaller than whatever it's moving, just a hair smaller. Yeah,
because you got to on a sharper tip or smaller tip. It's not. Some people think, that let's just say it's the size of your pinky, but the contact, the actual contact of that tip making contact on the metal panel is maybe a quarter of that size. You know what I mean? Or an eighth. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's a 16th of that size of that. It depends on how sharp or beveled that tip is. So,
right.
You know what I mean?
And if you're using a soft tip on a crown while you're bringing it down and it starts to take perimeter metal, meaning that it's denting on both sides as it's coming down, then you need to come down a tip. You need to go to like a medium-sized knockdown tip, and just you need to take it down one notch. And just if you keep it clean and you do it that way, I guarantee you I've showed a lot of people that it's the quickest way to move dents very, very fluently. Because if you go any other direction, you're either beating on it too long or you're causing mistakes by dragging perimeter metal. And you're going to end up doing too much knockdown work, too much pushing work, trying to correct a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, we'll get into that little tapping down.
So how about you, Vince? What do you do? What tips do you use?
I wanted to here's a tip that I use. When I have a dent that has several different things going on, whether it's a big dent that has a crease in it and a horizontal crease, and then it has a crown, and it has a couple of high spots in it. What I meant earlier about keeping an even flow through it is I'll go to the lowest part of the dent, say that crease. I'm bringing that crease up to the other portion of the dent. So once it's up to that portion of the dent, I then attack, the next lower spot or the next highest spot. And then it's a give and take to keep that consistency of a smooth dent and then bring the whole dent out. And reason being is, what I find is if you just get in there sometimes, and I'm a victim of it too. I'd like to meet out the dent real quick. Well, now, boom, you just trapped all that metal in that crease that's in the bottom of the dent, and you can't get it out, or you're going to risk cracking paint, or you're going to beat it back into a big dent because you didn't bring up the lowest part of the dent first. So that's what I just wanted to clarify on some of that consistency of keeping the dent smooth. I'm attacking the lowest spot. I'm getting that crease up a little bit, or all the way up to where the rest of the dent is, and then bringing the whole dent up. Does that make sense, guys?
It does, yeah. I
it does. Follow you. Can I tell you how I explain that to the people that I work with?
Words than I am.
Well, no, I tell them it's putting dirt in a hole. I mean, how would you fill a hole?
Right.
You would throw it in the deepest part first, right? And then you would, as that came up, if there's another deeper part beside it, you'd throw some in there. And you'd want to keep it balanced. It's almost like you're doing some sort of, imagine yourself on a little bulldozer landscaping that area, right?
Sure.
And trying to do it methodically is, I always talk about, I try to break things down to the simplest things that people will remember. And putting dirt in a freaking hole is as simple as it can possibly be broke down.
It's funny about that, John. When I used to train guys, I had one of those Japanese it's a little sand thing. It's for meditation or whatever. And it's just a little platter of sand with a little rake. And I would throw a marble in it and would create a dent and a high spot around it. And I take the marble out and I go, okay, how do we fill in that dent? And use a little rake. And I go, relate exactly what you're saying there. That's funny.
In a Zen garden. I think
Zen garden. Thank you.
Zen garden.
Zen garden.
Well, us around here, we just talk about dirt in a hole, son. I'll take them out and dig a hole.
That's right. That's right.
So tip-wise, I go for the biggest tip I possibly have.
You try to match it. Yeah.
Yeah. Right now, it's John's black rubber balls. I like John's black rubber balls.
We knew that about you.
They're so supple.
Hey, someone just asked about that on Instagram. Hey, what ball are you using on that handle? On that, yeah, it's a tactical dent. I tagged you, but your turn, Daniel.
So the two tips that I use is Dent Craft's red tip. I have a bunch of them in different sizes.
R4?
R44.
Yeah, well, I have all. I don't even know what's numbers there. I have all the sizes. I just grab.
Let's just say R4.
The right size. Usually go bigger, and then ultra soft tip. But what I look at is when I'm looking at a big dent, I'm looking at the integrity of the panel. I want to move that metal up and putting the integrity of the panel and the whole dent. So when I start hitting, because usually a big dent's going to have lows and highs all over, spread over a large area. So I want the integrity. So when I start to hit, it's not going to oil can back in. I want it to have some rigidity.
Yeah.
So that when I start striking it from the outside, that it's got somewhere to go. So I'm really looking at trying to create that rigidity and that integrity back into that panel is the thing I'm doing. And honestly, my stuff, I probably create a little bit more work for myself, but that's the way I work. I make it look uglier before it looks pretty.
Well, let me ask you guys a question. I mean, and I think I brought this up before. If I had an ultra slow motion camera and I go to kick the fender, and you see how it's collapsing, I kick the middle of the fender, the depth is going in the center, and then you start seeing the outside have shock waves and the metal starting to move out on the outside. Well, if you reverse that camera, how's that dent going back to where it never happened, right? It's going from the outside back. I
think you should do just that.
Yeah, it's going back into the flow, and the foot comes back out, and the metal's coming right back out from the center last.
Yep.
So,
Mike, you're right. And when I talk to customers, when I walk up and I'm giving them a quote or whatever, I always ask them, "How did it happen?" Because I want to picture how that sucker went in there.
Good. Yeah.
Majority of people are happy to tell you, but there's people that are like, well, I don't want to talk about it.
Yeah. Through my wife against it.
What Mike just said there is a perfect example. We were talking about Daniel's pogo stick where he's applying pressure while he's doing the crown work, because the deal with that is you literally have to make all that happen at the same time. So literally to do your crown work on the outside, because it had pressure flowing it out, so to do your crown work on the outside, you have to have that same reverse pressure sucking it back in at the exact same time to make that method work. Now to do it, to do it in that way that I've seen people do the craziest repairs. Like I've seen people hook up dozers, and I actually got one here, but I just don't use it because it's so.
I know. I want to see that in action.
It just freaking takes so much time to hook it up. But what it is, it's you hooking pressure and putting a glue tab on a dent, okay? And hooking pressure and tightening it up like a banjo string, okay? So you're literally tightening it down with this dozer on the outside of the car. Imagine a pole on the outside of the car, and you're tightening it down. And then you're doing your crown work, and you can actually watch the little string loosen. And as the string loosens, it's helping the deepest part of the metal flow out as the exterior is flowing in at the exact same time.
Yeah.
Okay. Recreating, actually really reversing the damage, the way that it went in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? How it happened.
Yeah.
And a lot of people talk about that, but good God, I see Bryce Kelly do it occasionally, but it does take a little bit of time to set it up, and it does work. But I don't know. I haven't really dug the setup time and all that stuff. I just feel like I can do it, different.
Yeah. Now, look, listeners, there's no way we could go into depth in a 45-minute podcast as to how, the nuts and bolts and everything that we do to get these dents out, these monstrous dents.
Good call.
The tools that we're using, and it's years of experience that we all have fixing this stuff that we're given to you. you have to take it and work it yourselves and find your comfort level and find what tools are going to work for you.
That's right. We're like all chefs. We are like chefs, and I'm going to teach you how to cook meatloaf, but you're going to find your own way to make meatloaf your own way. You're going to take little bits and pieces of everything that everyone's doing, and hey, as long as it tastes good at the end, you're all good, man. So,
do you guys ever remember when Ricky Bang came out with the T handle?
Yeah.
And you guys remember when he started that, he was showing he was doing exactly what I'm saying, but he was hooking a T handle up to the glue tab and pulling that as he took the back of a knockdown hammer and was knocking down the crowns at the same time, causing that real quick. If you want to check it out, go to denttrainer.com, watch my off dolly videos, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about, holding pressure on the dent while you're hitting the outside. But Ricky Bain was doing that for the longest time, this ongoing joke. He had a friend helping him hold something. He never showed the back of the T-handle. He only showed the front of it touching the car. And he always said he had his friend outside of the camera holding it. Well, it wasn't until 6 months later, he finally broke out what he really had. He was holding it with one hand, putting pressure on it, and then slapping with the other hand. And that's kind of how the T handles that we see now in our arsenal was born from Ricky.
Yeah.
I think I have original titty tab T handle, which I think
I have one too, my friend.
Yeah.
No, I have a Dentcraft one.
I got one of those too.
So we got about 10 minutes left here. So, then the rest of it, you just work like normal PDR.
Didn't the rest of it, you just chop it up?
Well, are we going to talk, honestly,
that's all there is to it.
Are we going to talk finishing technique? Because that's really what a lot of guys are interested in. Everybody thinks it's the big metal movement, but where most people struggle is the finishing.
Well, yeah, you guys can, if you do it the way we mentioned, at least one of those techniques, you're going to get it out, get the most of the meat out in like 10, 15 minutes max,
Tune in next week for finishing.
There you go. There you go. Actually, seriously.
We don't have enough time for that.
Let's continue on the next one, John. How's that? So
Okay. Yeah, that's cool.
Okay.
Finishing techniques on the next one.
So we want to get into Mobile Tech RX just released their new update and just give our first impressions of it. We really, I don't think any of us really put it to the test of actually doing an estimate on a car, but just first impressions and what you guys think of it.
Well, let me give a little technical advice for people that are struggling with the download. There's a couple things that happen if your software, if your system is not up to date, sometimes little bugs and hiccups happen along the way. The first thing you want to do if you encounter a problem is log yourself out of the program itself. So if you have Mobile Tech RX and you're finding something weird is happening, log out of the program, log back into the program. If that doesn't work, the next thing you want to do is remove the app off of your device and reload it and log back in. That will fix 90% of the problems that are even existing.
I had that exact problem. That's what Vince told me to do, and it worked.
Yeah, and I had the problem this morning when I went to go get a signature from a client. Every time I hit the signature, it turned red and the app closed on it. I'm like, well, that's weird. And why? It's been working flawlessly since I downloaded it. Well, all I did was log out and log back in, and boom, everything was up and running again.
Huh.
Yep.
So keep in mind when you're getting this stuff, it's going to outer space and back to your tablet or to your device. So sometimes there's little quirky things that happen in the process, and they do reset themselves. Just log out or remove the app and reinstall it.
So there's two things in here I'd like to talk about so you go to the service part of the program, and the first thing you notice is how different it looks. So it has icons. So it has PDR, Hail, Price-A-Dent, R&I, and Price-A-Dent is new and parts is new. And then wheels and paint. And, without getting into the rest of the stuff, I'd really want to concentrate on Price-A-Dent. And if you click on Price-A-Dent, the first thing you see is at the top, it shows you a matrix, and you click on that, and the first thing you see is Paul Corden's matrix or John Hiley's tactical dent. John, why don't you tell us what's the difference between your matrix and Paul's?
Honest with you, I like both of them. And I'm just, as all y'all know, I'm just a proponent of you guys getting involved in a system that helps gain a little consistency and better retail pricing. So either one that you use, you're not going to go wrong at all. But Paul's would be what I'd like to say, a simple version of mine. Okay. So if you're looking for something that's really simple, you go in there, you just click the inches of the dent, and then you click your up charges and you're off to the races. Okay. Mine is a little bit more dynamic because when I developed mine, I realized that not all dents are the same. So I'm not going to price a crease dent as the same as I'm going to price a dent that's like, 10 inches by 20. Or I couldn't say a dent that is 10 inches wide by 20 inches long is the same as a dent that's 1 inch wide as 20 inches long, right? So I developed mine to be based on a square inch deal. So when it goes above 10 by 10, you actually go into a square inch calculator. So it literally, it worked flawlessly. You put like a 15 by 25 inch dent in there, it will calculate all the square inches and come out with a price. And you got your shallow price, your medium price, and your deep price. All right. And then if you want to hit the crease button, you can go in and it'll price out a crease for you. And again, it'll do, shallow, medium, or deep. And then if you want to go into a smaller dent, which is below 10 inches, you can go through that and you can click the button on how many inches the dent is, and you're going to get a price on that as well. I just thought that we're dealing with 3 different categories here. So it's designed to focus on anything below 10 inches, crease dents, or anything above 10 inches, which just goes into a whole different, you basically at that point, I really think the algorithm in the future is all going to be based on a square inch pricing.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Here's, you were talking to me a little bit earlier about this, and here's what I like. One, we have the choice. So we're not pigeon-toed into one thing. Number 2 is I think yours works a little bit better on smaller dents, especially if they're complicated smaller dents, because we've all seen those dents and it's going to be a tough one. It may be just getting access, or it's got 3 body lines going through it and a crease dent, or whatever it is. It's a complicated, but it's only, a $50 size, but that's going to take you 2 hours to get right. And I think that's where yours really shines. If I'm right, you can correct me if I'm wrong. But I think that's where you can really get nitty gritty on yours.
Yeah, I think either one of them, like I said, I'd be happy if, it doesn't matter to me which one you guys use. But if you're using my estimator, I sent out about 1,000 of them things, and you want to keep it under my system, at least it's there so you can use it. Or the thousands of people who got Paul's estimator, they're going to be able to have that in a system as well, which is awesome. And I toyed around with it, and I love Paul's setup. And I just think the breakdown is going to be a little bit more dynamic, especially if they got into expressing. I haven't seen it on an estimate. I don't know if it says how many square inches there is there, but that's a real easy explanation to a large dent customer on a way that you actually can break down. And I'll be honest with you, I got that from Bryce Rockhill, who's been an innovator in the industry long time ago. I've had it up on my board here at the shop for a long time. And I just now put it on a chart because there's no other algorithm out there that we've ever found that can really break down a large dynamic dent. So we're talking length, width, all that stuff, and calculating the actual size, not just the length. Okay. Because you can't even do two ways. You know what I'm saying? You can't do 12 inch by 12 if you got something that's 12 by 30, right?
Right.
You really got to calculate a square inch inside of that dent to get a true read on the actual size. So the more that we tweak and hone this square inch formula, I guarantee you that there's nothing out there that's going to be able to read large dents with the best way that we can explain it on the way that it actually comes up with its estimate. Okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What are you going to say, John or Mike?
Go ahead, Mike.
First of all, I want to thank Mobile Tech RX, the team there. Phenomenal job. They just keep updating this and making it hands down better and better and better. It's exciting to to see their new updates, and they're just going. It's just out of control. Two, I want to thank you and Paul, John, for creating this easy way to create an estimate on a dent. I mean, we're getting somewhere now, guys. We are getting somewhere. This is good. We're finally going in the right direction of where to go this. My only thing, and I'm getting a little, I'm always getting a little too picky, but I base a lot of my customers off estimates through text message. At least for now, at this point, I could create an estimate in here, screenshot it, and send it to them. And now they know why I'm charging what I'm charging. Okay. But I'd love to see it in a way where we can text this directly to them from the app. See what I'm saying? So this would be great.
Well, the other thing I found out is you can click on the matrix and it brings up John's
it does. You can screenshot that. Yeah.
Yeah, you can screenshot that, but I just printed it out to see if it prints out the size. I have to run over to the printer and check it out, but that's pretty cool too.
I mean, guys, you lost, you don't know how to do a dent. A Price-A-Dent. I mean, this is it, man. This is great, John. I mean, it's really great, man.
I'll be honest with you. I got to hand it to Paul. Mike, because he's really worked really tight with Mobile Tech RX through this whole process.
Yeah.
I haven't worked as tight with them. I've been working with them today, but really, I just kind of broke it down to them on the way that I gave him all the information, sent him all that stuff. But he's been in think tanks with them and stuff like that, so he's really helped push this update go through. And I just kind of called him up, said, "Hey, man, we need to put my tactical estimator in there," and they said, "Okay."
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad. Well, Paul's coming to the Mega Media event. Obviously, Mega Mobile Tech RX is the team there, and you're going to be there. Obviously, and be all you guys are going to be breaking this down. So we might have to just video this. We're going to have to video this and just show the real essentials of this. So.
And I just don't want people to get it wrong. I want people to just understand that we're all in this. Me and Paul are in this together. We talk about this together. This isn't my chart versus his chart or anything like that. Yeah. Really, it's just what's and who knows? We might blend one day and come up with the best chart that's ever happened.
Oh, he said he was going to smack you down, man. I don't know. I think you better rethink that.
He might try.
So I just printed out his chart. It's full size and it looks beautiful. So you can actually print this out for a customer and they can do their own estimate.
That's awesome.
I mean, I'm sure we're going to get these guys on here to explain a lot of these features. We're going to have them at the end of the month at the Mega Media event. But I just want to say right off the bat, this is really amazing. That's amazing. So
here's my favorite thing though, is factors. So you go into the dent and then you click on factors. So imagine this if you can. So there's a toggle switch for aluminum, high strength steel, glue pooling, double metal, body contour lines, obstruction damage, edge of panel, bad paint finish, or exotic paint finish. So custom paint or probably 3-stage paint, I guess, non-factory finish, laminated glass, sound deadener, paint coating, clear bra, vinyl wrap, reworked pour PDR, and manufacturer access, which is the Paul Corden, we drill a hole for only $10.
Yeah. No, I'm selling for $25 now. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they actually came to me and asked me. They gave me that list and they said, "Well, this is what we all talked about putting on Paul's thing." I was like, just put that on mine. I mean, that sounds like it covers everything.
Yeah.
And then next to this, you have a slide bar. So it's set at 25 and 30%, and you can slide that bar and make it 40%, 50%. So you can adjust that too. So, and then at the top, you see a little line board. I'm sure Mike loves this. You click on that, it turns your whole screen into a line board. And so you can look at the dent through a line board on your phone.
Why aren't we using fog? Why not? You know why? Because lines don't lie.
It's better for customers to understand.
Yeah, it is. Fantastic. So, it's fantastic. I mean, it's going to become like,
this is going to increase your paycheck.
It is like, and it this is my menu. you know, when you go to, like I said, you go to McDonald's, you see the menu, you don't ask them, can you give me that quarter-pound cheeseburger for, you know, $2 instead of $4.50? This is what it is. You can haggle. I mean, you can, you know, all right, you know what? We're going to, instead of charging you 30% on the crease, you know, because it's vertical crease, we'll just charge you 10% on that one. You know, you just, now you can drop off other things except the major part of the dent. You know, you can, if you want to. I mean, that's, you know, knowing Paul, he'll probably, you know what? We'll up it.
I used to sell cars, and I used to work with this Southern boy, and he goes, boy, you bring a ride up into the office here. You want to throw them way up the river. I go, what? Throw them up the river? And he goes, yeah, you throw a high price at them. I'm gonna hit them full boat, and then see what they say. And then you let them drift down that river until they land on the shore they're comfortable with, and a price they're comfortable with. And I'm like, so we don't start at the bottom of the river. You can't go upstream.
There you go, man. That's good. That's good. That's good. That,
yeah,
you know, the thing
Danny,
is,
man, that guy knew how to sell.
This is fantastic.
Ice to an ice cream.
Hey, and just to kind of cap this off, guys, I just want to let y'all know that if you all want a free copy of my dent chart, just go to tacticaldenttech.com and fill it out. Just pay shipping and handling, and I'll send it there first class. It's like 2-day shipping or something like that, and I'll shoot one out to you.
Well, you know what? That it's great to have that in your hand too, John, because physically, you know, customer walks in, I'd grab that thing real quick, and I go out there and I show them, and then they say, "Well, can I get a written estimate?" And then I can match it. You know what I mean? I can just match it right up. So with the app,
I always walk out with a price chart in my hand. Like if I don't go out, like I've done that a couple times, I've left the price chart behind, and I go out there, and I always feel like they think I'm pulling a price out of my ass.
Yeah.
And just by having that price chart in your hand, it just brings legitimacy to the price you gave them, because they're looking at something. And I can legitimately hold my price chart and show it to them and say, you know, this is used all over the country by 1,000 technicians or something like that worldwide.
Yeah.
And by being able to do that, it brings credibility to, you know, the price that I just gave them.
Yeah.
No, and the best marketing things about this too, though, is, you know, you're like, okay, I'm going to email you this estimate, right? So then they can do with it what they want, you know, send it to their insurance company or whatever, but you're capturing their email and you're creating a great database to do further marketing.
I think that's a good idea, Daniel. Yeah.
Yeah. Because
does it connect to MailChimp or something?
Yeah, you're populating that into the app, and you can do with it what you want. Yeah, put it into MailChimp.
I just wondered if it had a direct MailChimp connection, because that's a good idea if they haven't done that.
We'll ask them when we're at the Mega Media event.
Okay.
You can extract it out and then get it into MailChimp. So it might not be seamless, but I know you can do it.
I like how they do icon services. You know, they got the PDR icon, like the new, you know,
sexy.
Yeah, they got the Hail icon. You know, it's just looks simplicity.
You notice the PDR guy is the Justin's logo.
Yeah.
So hopefully the next icon will be up there will be motorcycles. So we've talked about that, and I'm working with them.
That's going to be
eventually
good.
We'll have motorcycles on there.
Yeah. Excellent, John, with Paul. Paul, thank you. And the guys at Mobile Tech RX. I mean, you guys are making life a lot easier for PDR.
And it's not, you know, absolutely not perfect, but it's getting there. You know, the parts, a guy posted that the parts isn't complete. It's the first, you know, generation, if you will, and you know it'll get better. They'll add more to it.
Yeah. And on the ISO, I was informed by them today that mine had a lot of glitches in the smaller dent category, and I played with it. It does it's not 100, but they're doing a mini update within 2 or 3 days that should correct.
Yeah, they'll send out bug fixes.
Just always remember when stuff rolls out like that, they got to get feedback, and then they'll correct it.
Well, I think we are just about wrapped up, guys. So we did tons of tech tips in the beginning. We'll finish off with the finishing for the next week. Great podcast. I hope you guys stay tuned for the next one. And again, we will catch you on the next one. What are we at? What podcast are we at right now? It's like 89, 90.
Something like that.
Up
With the
there,
look,
man.
with the look. All right, guys. I'm Mike Toledo, along with John Hiley and Daniel Grom.
And don't forget, guys, love.
Join the revolution.